Staying in South Africa, the recent murder of rapper Kiernan Forbes, popularly known as AKA, by gunmen at a restaurant in Durban has put mass shooting in South Africa on the center stage. But such offences are fairly common in South Africa as the rate of violent crimes increases in the country. AKA was standing outside a restaurant when an armed man walked up to him and shot him point blank. AKA was nominated several times for a Black Entertainment Television (BET) Awards in the United States and was once nominated for an MTV Europe Music Award. The intentions behind the murders in South Africa are presently unclear. Nevertheless, established investigation implies that violent acts in South Africa are most often perpetrated by organized crime groups, with intentions frequently connected to contest over territorial control. South Africa has experienced high rates of organized crime relative to other African countries. To speak more on this is Williams Els, Senior Training Coordinator, Enact Programme, Institute for Security Studies. Thank you for joining me at this time for this very crucial conversation, Williams.
Good evening to you.
All right, so let's get straight to it, William. Yet another gun violence, one of many unreported ones. But let's look at this particular one. Someone gunned down in the view of people is becoming a trend in South Africa. Really sad. How does this mean criminals, does this mean criminals no longer fear the law in South Africa anymore?
I think we should stand back and we should look at start at the crime index. If you look at the crime index in South Africa compared to the rest of the world, and especially to Africa, South Africa lay at the moment at number 5 in Africa, and that rates among the same countries as Somalia and Libya. So that is not good for the country. Also, South Africa has been adjudged as to be in the same bracket as a mafia state, as the countries like Italy and Brazil, as well as Mexico. And that is also not good. That doesn't say a lot about what is going on in South Africa in terms of the rule of law. So if you look at our research on the murder rate, you just mentioned that this is just one of many that occurred over the weekend. We have an excess of 30 murders per day in South Africa. And also, if you look at since 2012, we saw an increase in the murder rate in South Africa by 62%. So that is horrible. But at the other hand, what is even more devastating for the country is that in the same period, we saw a decline in the detection rate of 55%. So that is that something is wrong in South Africa when it comes to law enforcement. And all of that is despite a massive increase from 72%, from 58 billion rand in 2012 to over 100 billion rand in 2022. So what is going wrong in South Africa? We will answer that question as we go along.
All right. You've really stated some statistics there. But on this particular case, we have seen videos of how the rapper AKA was killed, which was, of course, shared on social media. Do you think this would affect the investigation in any way?
Social media is something that we have to live with in our modern society, especially in law enforcement as well. It cuts both ways. It can be a great aid and assistance to the investigators. It can guide them. It can give them some wonderful clues. But if it is abused on the other side, it can also lead to some panic. It can lead to some disorder. It can even lead to emotions being heightened and reprisals. So we have to deal with that very cautiously.
All right. Now, quickly, also, we have seen this trend of gun violence, mostly in KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape. Why these particular areas?
There are several drivers. If you look at the Eastern Cape, we saw that 2 house parties have been attacked in a matter of 14 days. In the first attack, 8 people were killed, gunned down, and over the weekend, another at a different party, another 4 people have been gunned down. In KwaZulu-Natal, we saw a policeman with his whole family being gunned down. We also saw political officials being gunned down on all sides of the spectrum. And then if you go down into the Popo province, you see a similar trend where it seems that political scores are being settled by hired guns. And down in Cape Town area, especially with your gang violence there, we saw that the gangs are also using that. So it depends on the driver. It depends on the organized crime syndicate that have been tasked to do that. We also saw in late last year that an international syndicate from Israel was arrested here in Bryanston in Johannesburg, and with them they found a vehicle that was equipped with silencers, and it was equipped to be soundproof, to be an assassination vehicle, where they then drove up to the targets and then assassinated them from a distance without anybody hearing that.
All right, quickly before I let you go, let's talk about motive right now. Finally, are these mass shootings a reflection of the country's economic status or just acts of pure criminality?
I think it boils down to both, but on this side, I think we should look at pure criminality. I think the rule of law is really slipping away in South Africa, and South Africa is currently under danger of slipping into a failed state status, because the police cannot really actively ensure the safety and the security of the citizenry.
All right, thank you so much for your time, William Els.
Thank you very much.